One of the last words, if not the last word that I heard, was duty. Could both of you tell me a little bit about how important that word is in your lives?
Duty?
Yeah.
There are a lot of duties.
Why that ended?
Yeah. Well, that text is actually incorporated in the score of the piece that I performed. It's from a line from René Char, who's a surrealist French poet. So it leaves a lot of interpretation left to the audience or to the performer, really anybody involved with the piece. But I think it really it brought a different meaning to it when we incorporated the Sixth text. Our duty as a woman to write and to perform and to bring other women into writing. I mean, that's what it meant to me, I'm not sure what it meant to you.
But I would for one of the same person, I would probably have the same answer, but I think that there are a lot of different duties, and I think that duty is it's something that you put on yourself, but it's also something very, that comes from the outside. Your duty as a female, or your duty as a student, or a professor, or a mother, or whatever, whatever kind of body that you're embodying.
The line itself, it's talking about the words being the same word, and to change that, to change the meaning of it. So we're taking the body, taking a lot of things that are prescribed as feminine, and reappropriating.
Yes.
So I apologize for having missed the first part of your performance. And when I came back in from my restroom break, you were both kind of in this moment of, breaking out of these shells, cocoons. There was a really strong moment when you stood up and all of us sort of caking and crumbling at the same time that you were sort of peeling. So I thought that was a really interesting paired set of images. And I'm sure that you're probably both already, obviously, drawing on Sisu, but it's just such a I'm thinking of Elizabeth Groth's, Vomited Bodies, and Written on the Body, and I wonder, what does it mean even to be interpolated through the text, inscribed through the text, that's not your voice, even though it's a woman's voice. And I wonder just, so I wonder about who creates the language that's on you. You put that on you. So it's just, I'm left with
She put that on me.
So she put the latex on you, you cover yourself with this.
She covered me in plaster.
So you cover each other.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not valuing one or the other. I'm just trying to pay attention to who's covering whom and what text is inscribing the body. And because anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean the text that is inscribing the body, I think changes, and I like that with each performance. I like it to change because one, I'm reading different things, I'm embodying different spaces, I'm having different experiences.
Do you write different texts? Have you done this piece before? Do you always use the same text?
I've done this by myself before, and I've used a text that I've written. And this time it was a quote that I thought embodied the performance so much better than I could say in words.
Was it legible at any point in time? It was.
It was.
Yeah. Well, I think it really speaks to how we approach art history, is that it's very malleable, and it's very, I didn't say before the performance that it was Vinko Globakar's composition, and it's all these weavings and intertwinings of temporality.
Intertextual.
It's art. It's art.
Yes, Lynette.
Listening to you talk about it, I wonder why didn't you start with it, with you writing on each other's bodies, effectively? I mean, why not perform that as well? Or was there a particular reason why you chose not to do that, but to do that and start the performance after that was done?
I want to say it's because we're both visual artists that have a very private practice, and then we're engaged in this private practice, and then we show it to an audience. But I think that's a really interesting point, that we could have very well just covered each other in plaster, and she could have covered me in latex and written on my body. But I think that it's also sort of a bonding experience for us back there to cover each other in these weird materials. What are we doing right now? And
to confront comfort zones,
right,
levels of security.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know how comfortable I would have been being fully exposed and then covered and then
thinking a lot about, and maybe just because I knew that you were coming from the Art Institute, but thinking about the gallery space versus the theater space. And with Lynette's question, I'm like, well, if you had been given 2 hours instead of half an hour, then, and we were walking around, or whatever. So because even when you were in it, there was a certain point where I was like, what if this was more installation based, and we could actually be hovering around and watching things close up and not in these seats? And so I was just sort of hanging out in that, of like, because I think of the different things that we've been experiencing today. Like the previous piece that we saw was really it was really set up as a theater piece, but this piece I started really thinking, how would it be different? And that included even, now that Lynette says it, the preparation. So it's just, I don't know how much you think about that, or where there's pressure to think that way in art school versus performance world.
Yeah.
Or
Well, my piece is a musical composition, and it's only been performed on a stage in a concert hall. And I think that's something that we both addressed in our individual performances. We both performed it in a gallery individually, and people gathered around. They were on all sides of us.
yeah.
So it wasn't like theater stage. It was more of interaction.
Well, but it's also interesting. I was thinking about the last probably day and a half since our meeting last night.
Yeah.
What if people were to peel my skin off my body, or what if people were to hit her body and have that stuff crash off? It would be a completely different experience for me and her and the audience, because I guess we were trying to, visually show you how this happens. But if you were to physically be able to tear that stuff off my body, you would have a completely different experience. And I think a very interesting one. I would be excited to do it again, just to have somebody peel it off my body.
DSI.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we're going to wrap that. Thank you guys so